I think what the big surprise is why and how 7 companies constitute 1/3 of our market capitalization. That's really the big surprise. And so the question of the day is really, how is that going to reconcile itself? And so what I tried to put forward in this piece was just the theory that actually it's pretty unsustainable, and that in effect, big tech is eating its own tail. This serpent image that you might have seen of a snake eating itself has been around for millennia. And I think that's kind of what's going on, which is just a way of saying this AI frenzy has, in some sense, been manifest by these big 7 companies having a very low cost of capital. They've become the safe asset in the world. So if you are around the world, you want a dollar-denominated asset, but with better management teams than maybe governments, better balance sheets than maybe governments, you're going to flock to them. Well, what does that mean? Well, if that happens and they become the safe asset, then people don't expect much in terms of return, because that's what happens with safe assets. Well, how do managers respond to that? And the answer is you invest a lot. And that's what they've been doing. And they've been investing a lot in each other. And they've been spending like crazy. So, for example, Nvidia's more than half their revenues is coming from their siblings in the big 7. So, and Amazon, Microsoft are spending literally $200 billion a year in infrastructure spend. And they're doing buybacks hand over fist. So they are literally eating themselves and literally eating each other. And the underlying story, I think, is going to be that these is going to end up having low returns. So when you end up giving them the prize of being a safe asset, you don't expect much from them, and they invest like crazy, and then they deliver slow returns. That's what we are going to see. It won't happen today or tomorrow. It'll happen over the next 5 or 10 years, like it happened at the beginning of the last century with railroads and steel. I think that is why it wasn't that big a surprise to me.
I want to dig a little bit into this. You know, one of the things that we love looking at here at Bloomberg is that the supply chain function. So you pull up something like Nvidia, and so Microsoft is responsible for about 19% of their revenue. Meta is about 10%, according to our latest data. Supermicro about 8%, Alphabet, Google about 6%, Amazon about 5%, Dell about 3%. Like, we love to kind of get an idea of who's buying, and so the exposure, especially if we get bad news from them, what it means for an Nvidia. So you're saying what, too concentrated, or what's your point about, you know, that they're kind of, like, it's like this almost closed circle,
it's a little bit of a closed circle,
and
exactly,
they all are
Carol.
kind of like supporting one another.
Yeah, so, I mean, effectively what's happening is they're investing and spending money on each other. And that closed circle ultimately...
Why are they doing that? Because some would say that what we've seen over the last couple of years is that everybody has all of a sudden realized, oh my God, look at what generative AI can do. And so we have to build out our own systems.
Exactly right. And the promise is that it is not a closed circle, that one day it'll all be manifest to us what those revenues and profits are. And that is a huge bet. We are all levered to the Mag 7 in a way that I don't think we understand. When 1/3 of the market cap is Mag 7, we're levered to it, and the global economy is levered to it. And all of that is going to be a function of the productivity of all this capital they're spending on each other. And what I tried to raise in that article is, it's not clear that that is going to be manifest. And in fact, DeepSeek, I think people misunderstood the DeepSeek lesson. In part, the story about DeepSeek is, it is very hard to create a competitive advantage in this industry. You know, people think there's a lot of money to be made. Well, to make a lot of money, you need to be able to capture the rents. And what DeepSeek showed is that it's not clear that these rents are easily captured. And so if it's easily accessible to everyone, that doesn't mean it's not going to be transformational, Carol. What it means is...
Because some would say that if it's more accessible, more people can tap into it. And for people who are supportive of it, like hence the software guys, right? We all of a sudden said they were off and running.
Yeah, and it could be transformational, but will a company be able to capture it all, right? So the whole premise of their market capitalizations is there's going to be 7 big winners, and we know who they are. It's those 7 companies. And maybe that's not right, even if it is transformational. If it isn't transformational, then we're all really in trouble, because they're literally deploying capital at really, really low rates of return, maybe negative rates of return.